Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Good afternoon. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen in this afternoon for Nicole Gitsky. Hurricane Laura came on shore furiously overnight as a Category 4 storm. It's now weakened just below the level of a Category 1 storm, but it's still causing a lot of destruction in its path. It's now moving into Arkansas after pounding Texas and Louisiana overnight. NBC's Chris Pallone rode out the storm in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he has the latest.
Laura slammed ashore in the early hours of Thursday, lashing the Louisiana and Texas coast with torrential rain, a storm surge the National Hurricane Center called unsurvivable, and 150-mile-per-hour winds. A powerful Category 4 major hurricane. At least one person now confirmed dead.
The whole Valero gas station roof, the top of it ripped off.
The good news is the storm surge appears to have been about half of what was forecasted, which is still very significant.
With daylight, officials are out and getting a true sense of the damage, some afraid of what they might find.
A few houses might make it. Most of them will probably be gone.
But the Texas governor cautiously optimistic.
The reports right now are fairly good because the main thing is we have no reports of loss of life right now.
Early on, it was clear many things wouldn't be the same after Laura as before.
I'm just glad that we are all alive. That's it.
Looks like pretty much everyone around this area kind of got hit hard.
More than 500,000 people were under mandatory evacuation orders in Texas and Louisiana. Most paid attention.
When they said Category 4, that was it.
But others decided to ride it out.
Why would you stay in harm's way?
This storm is going across the state and it's gone through some of the poorest areas where the houses are not built for this type of high wind.
In Louisiana, the National Guard is out assessing the damage and checking for people who need to be rescued.
More than 600,000 customers are without power after the storm, most of them here in Louisiana. Power companies said that crews from 20 states were in the region ready to go out and start getting the power back on, but for some customers, it could take days or even weeks. In Lafayette, Louisiana, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
In your 17 Crime Watch, a 62-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of sexually abusing 3 children. Police arrested Eddie Jean Fowler following an investigation that started Sunday. Officers say the alleged victims range in age from 9 to 12, and there may be other unidentified victims. Fowler has pleaded not guilty. Anyone with information regarding this case is urged to call Bakersfield Police at 327-7111. Now to the coronavirus pandemic, and the Kern County Public Health Services Department reported 5 new COVID-19 cases, or 5 new COVID-19 deaths, and 242 new cases this morning. That brings the county's total to 28,864 cases and 256 deaths. The department's reporting 10,903 people have recovered from the virus, and an additional 16,185 are isolated at home. Meantime, 222 people are being treated for COVID-19 in local hospitals. And coming up tonight on 17 News at 5, Alex Fisher speaks with Dr. Deborah Birx, the White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator. She talks about her concerns regarding the coronavirus in Kern County and the Central Valley ahead of the fall and winter months. You can watch the entire interview tonight only on 17 News at 5. Well, tomorrow we are hosting a free COVID-19 testing site at our Compassion Corner here in downtown Bakersfield. We're teaming up with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Kern Public Health for a federally provided test site from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's happening outside of our station in the parking lot at 22nd and L Streets in downtown Bakersfield. As always, our thanks to the Kern Community College District for the use of that parking lot. You can park and walk up and swab yourself. You can just drop by, but pre-registration is encouraged. For a link to do that, go to kget.com. Wildfire news now, and nearly 700 fires are still burning across our state today. Let's take a look at the biggest, the LNU Lightning Complex fire. It's burned more than 368,000 acres so far and is 33% contained. The wildfires across our state have been sparked by more than 13,000 lightning strikes since August 15th and fueled by extreme temperatures and high winds. The LNU fires burning in 5 counties up north. 5 have died in that fire and more than 1,000 structures have been destroyed. And the CZU fire burning in Santa Cruz and San Mateo counties is more than 81,000 acres and 21% contained today. 1 person has died in that fire and nearly 600 structures destroyed. All right, speaking of temperatures, and if you'd like to donate to help victims of the wildfires, you can go to our website, kget.com, and click on the hot link icon for ways to do just that. Well, Kern Mosquito and Vector Control's warning residents about a pesky mosquito species that's been buzzing around lately. The Aedes aegypti mosquito can potentially carry a host of illnesses, including the ailment that gives the yellow fever mosquito its nickname, yellow fever. Luckily, Vector Control says because none of those diseases are common in our area, there's not much to worry about besides some itchy bites and annoying buzzes.
Its eggs do not all hatch at one time. So if there's eggs left on one of these containers, these eggs are viable for years, dry. They don't desiccate. So you could have one of these containers dry for 2 or 3 years and add water to it, and it's like a plant seed almost. You have instant mosquitoes reoccurring once again.
And that's why officials recommend you scrub any containers with standing water frequently and wear a repellent with DEET to avoid bites. If you're having a severe mosquito problem, Vector Control says it will fog your property for free. Just call 589-2744. National news now. Unrest continues in Kenosha. Authorities now say Jacob Blake had a knife in his car when he was shot by police, and they've also publicly identified the officer who shot him. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports.
After days of unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, following the police shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake, overnight protests here remain relatively peaceful.
I'm Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Call.
And for the first time, Wisconsin's Attorney General has identified the police officer who shot Blake 7 times in the back. Officer Rustin Shesky has been with the department for 7 years. Before the shooting, investigators say Shesky and other officers who were responding to a domestic incident unsuccessfully tried to taser and arrest Blake.
DCI agents, that's the Division of Criminal Investigation, recovered a knife from the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's vehicle.
Attorneys for Blake's family say that shouldn't make a difference.
Think for a second what other things these police officers could have done instead of firing at least 7 bullets.
Meanwhile, authorities have arrested an Illinois teenager after 2 people were shot and killed during protests a day earlier. 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse faces a first-degree intentional homicide charge. His online footprint appears to show a strong support for law enforcement. It's not clear whether he was part of any organized group, but before the shooting, he explained why he was armed.
Our job is to protect this business. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously.
NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Rittenhouse's public defender declined to comment. Wisconsin's Department of Justice says all of the officers involved in Jacob Blake's arrest remain on administrative leave. Meantime, last night, the Milwaukee Bucks refused to participate in their playoff game against the Orlando Magic in protest of the police shooting of Blake shortly after the NBA announced no playoff games would be played yesterday. Other MLB, Major League Soccer and WNBA games were also postponed, and we just are learning from NBC that NBA plans to resume playoffs this weekend after the walkout over the shooting. All right, taking a look outside, about 90 degrees here in Bakersfield. Let's check in with Kevin now for your forecast.
Well, take a look at our forecast for today, and we've got plenty of sunshine, but we still have that layer of haze, and that's going to continue, but we are seeing improvements, so that's always good news. Overnight, we were at 73 degrees, so slightly above the normal of 68. Normal high today is 94. We'll be above that, and the record 111, set back in 1931. If you're going to be out and about today, our sunset will be at 7:29. We did see a few clouds offshore this morning along the coastal areas, but that's giving way to sunny skies this afternoon. 92 in Sacramento. Sacramento today, 97 in Fresno, 70s, lower 80s to the south. LA will be right near 79. Where we find that heat is no surprise. Vegas at 108 and Phoenix today, 113. The beaches are the place to be. Sunny skies and a west-northwest wind 5 to 10. We're looking at 73 this afternoon. That is perfect beach weather. Here's a look at the overall pattern. We've got high pressure still over the Four Corners region. There is a weak trough through the Golden State, and that will keep our temperatures in check here the next several days. So I'm not looking at a major warm-up in terms of Futurecast HD. No moisture headed into California as well. We will remain high and dry. Thunderstorm outlook for today. All that is shifted to the east into parts of Arizona, eastern Nevada. No thunderstorms expected into California for today. Let's talk about air quality. Still unhealthy for sensitive groups. Your AQI at 108, but that number continues to drop, and that's great news. Our UV index still high at 9.8. And today we'll be looking for temperatures near 98 in Bakersfield, 97 in McFarland, Taft at 96, a northwest wind 5 to 10 for the mountains and the Kern River Valley, a northwest wind 5 to 10, 88 in Fraser Park, Stallion Springs at 86, 87 in Tehachapi, 90s for the Kern River Valley, Lake Isabella near 97, and then for the desert, 99 in Mojave and Ridgecrest, the hot spot on the map today at 104. Your extended forecast shows very little change, upper 90s, lower 100s through at least Monday, and then Tuesday, look at that, 96 degrees overnight into the 70s, and then for the mountains, we're looking at mid to upper 80s across the board, a little bit breezy Sunday through Wednesday, overnight temperatures remaining into the 50s and 60s, and then for the Kern River Valley, 90s, hang in there throughout the next 7 days, overnight temperatures mid to upper 60s. So overall, not a bad forecast. We'll send it back over to you.
There's still more than 1 million people who filed for first-time unemployment over the last week. That is down a little bit than the report that we got last Thursday. The U.S. Labor Department reports that initial claims for unemployment have decreased again. 1.01 million people applied for first-time unemployment benefits last week. For 22 of the last 23 weeks, initial claims have been over 1 million. 14.5 million people are receiving claims, continuing claims, meaning they've claimed unemployment benefits for 2 or more weeks in a row. The number is still extremely elevated. Some analysts suggest the elevated continuing claims number indicates a very stressed labor market.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to KGET.com.